Hello, and welcome home. I hope you're having a wonderful week, even though it's only been 3 days into the week. I know it's Wednesday. No, I didn't post on the wrong day. Sorry, this is not Fashion Fridays. It is movie talk, film talk Wednesdays. All right, I am starting a new little thing on my channel. I'm either going to be posting at Wednesday or every other Wednesday, depending on my job schedule. Just got a new job out here. Fashion Friday's not changing. That's every Friday. But if you remember back in my first video, I mentioned that I call this Hannah's house because it's my house. I can do whatever I want, and I have a lot of hobbies and things I'm interested in that I want to share with you guys. And that's what this one is all about. I love film, movies so much. Anybody I talk to knows that I go hard, and honestly, that's kind of why I wanted to make this, because I recently just saw TENET, which is what we're going to be talking about. But I saw it yesterday, and I'm still thinking about it now, and there's just so much that I wanted to talk about. So instead of annoying my friends talking about this movie 24/7, I feel like I'll just get it all out of my system in this video. And yeah, so this is a spoiler review of Tenet. If you want a non-spoiler review, I did make one of those, so just check in my bio for that. But yeah, I'm just going to hop right into it. So Tenet, first time back to theaters. It was weird. There was plexiglass everywhere. I had a mask on. There was only you could only stay in groups of 2. Everything was all spread out. It was odd. There was honestly 5 other people in the theater with me, and even then they sat pretty spread out. So it was definitely very weird to see, but I felt safe, so that's very important. I think Cineplex is doing a good job at keeping moviegoers safe. And the fact that this was the first movie back after so long did not disappoint. I'm not surprised. I really would consider myself a Christopher Nolan fan. He's done so many movies that I enjoy. So I shouldn't have been surprised when the movie was good, but I was. I'm not gonna lie. It was it was a mind one. You had to pay attention, okay? Because if you would you wouldn't be lost, but it's definitely one of those movies where I feel I definitely want to watch it again because I feel I missed stuff. So when you go, pay attention right from the start. They waste your time. Other thing about being in the movies, it was so loud. It was so loud. I don't know if it's just because the loudest I've been watching is TV volume, and that's not very loud. So for me, going back to the movies, I was especially the soundtrack. This one was very bassy. It was great in the movie. I'll talk about that later on, but just having not heard things at that volume for so long, it was a shock to my system. So if anyone watching this plans to go to the movies, just a forewarning, because you might be in for a surprise. Okay, yeah, but enough of the chit chat. Tenet, let's talk about it. Plot / themes we saw in the movie. I like the whole plot. I don't think there were a lot of plot holes, because the thing is, they really did build it up, even in the trailer, kind of talking about, oh, this is worse than nuclear warfare, worse than World War III. And you know what? In my opinion, it actually was. I don't think there were no smoke and mirrors. They said that this bitch was serious, and it was. And I think the way that the plot went, that everything that was in there was necessary. It was all a clue building up to that ending, that final reveal, to convince you that this was serious, more serious, than World War III, the end of the world. I liked the characters, stories that they had. I don't think there was one character that had an unfinished story. All their stories made sense within the plot, helped the plot, and ended, I think, very well, or ended in a way that made sense for the character. And I'll talk about that in about individual characters later on. But yeah, just for the plot, I loved the whole time thing. The fact that it was to do with the future generations kind of coming back to mess around in the past. I think it was really well presented. The themes I think were interesting to see is that whole theme of posterity. Is that posterity means all future generations of people. And I mean, if that isn't the whole movie, you had a whole future generation of people coming back to say to basically mess things up for everyone else, because they thought it was their key to saving themselves in their time. And you also have what was mentioned before, like kind of what happens in the future, like climate change as well, like what future generations are facing with climate change. And I think that's very real because like we that's us, guys. Like the what did they say, the seas rose and boiled, that type of shit. Like that is high key what we're in for. So I think for me, I was kind of like, wow, like obviously, I mean, I hope we aren't doing stuff like how they were messing with time in Tenet, but at the same time, like I think in a sense our future might not look so different from the future that they talked about in the movie, and I wonder how far we might go or future generations might go to fix things, you know? So that's a theme I found interesting. A theme of greed for sure, if you look at obviously like the main character and even future generations. Like, yeah, you are in danger, but does that give you the right to go back and like kill everybody? You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of like feeling that you deserve it, you know, wanting more. Do like, just because you want more doesn't mean you get to go back and do that. And even with Sator's character, like the main like villain guy, like he did a lot just for himself because he wanted it. He can't have it, no one can. Like that's literally greedy. That's so greedy. So I think it was interesting how they exploited there, because I think a lot of times like when I see greed in movies, it's very like superficial and basic, like, oh, I want everything. But I think for me, I like how they took it a step farther to the fact where it was like, if I can't have it, nobody can. I am such an amazing person that I deserve this. And to see the lengths that he was willing to go, and even what future generations were willing to do, because they felt that they deserved more time, they deserved a chance at a future, you know? And even at that, like, can we fault them? Maybe Sator, sure, but like for future generations, again, I feel like we might find ourselves in that position one day. And again, I wonder, how far are we willing to go? How much is greed gonna play a part in the things that people are willing to do? So that's interesting. I like the theme of a protagonist, like the main character. He didn't even like have a name. His name was literally just like the protagonist, because I went back and I was like, wow, like he didn't give him a name. It was just the protagonist. So I think that was interesting, especially because in the situation you could consider him the good guy. So I like that the question wasn't what is a hero, what does it mean to be a good person, but kind of what does it mean to be protagonist, because protagonist is someone who's at the center of something, the person who is driving the story. And I found it interesting that a lot of people, especially when you see characters like Priya, question what makes him the protagonist, what makes him have the right to decide that he is the one to save the world, to do all this. Does he think that he's the only one? And like we're kind of questioning that too, in a sense. You know, at the end of the movie we find out that he was a protagonist. Like he set future him set all of this in motion, so he was. But I enjoyed the fact that they questioned it. I enjoyed the fact that it was about what makes you the person who has to do all this stuff to save the world, not just what is it to be a hero, what is it to be a good person. So I think it was a interesting take, especially when we're viewing like the main character and their, I guess, what makes them the main character, you know? Because sometimes just being a good guy doesn't cut it, you know? Like he really was somebody driving the story, making the decisions to go back and save Kat, making the decision to take the cyanide pill rather than rat out his team. So I think that was interesting to see. I really like that. Another theme would obviously be Tenet, the theme of the movie. So Tenet is a belief or principle believed to be true, and it is generally believed by like a group of people or members of an organization, that type of thing. And I think Tenet was kind of like us as the audience in a way, because we have these beliefs, these rules about time and physics and what is possible and what shouldn't be possible. And obviously like the general public believes this because like that's what we're taught in school, it's science. But then we walk into this movie and that is challenged when you have this whole like inverted world. You know what happens when you're an inverted person? We saw him set on fire and he ended up with hypothermia. Like that doesn't make sense based off of the laws of nature that we have or that we are taught, right? So it's like our own belief system was challenged. The tenets that we have in our life, you know, that come from like science and what we're taught, were challenged in this movie. So I think that was interesting. I like it when they make the audience think. It's good to have fun in movies too. I still had fun in this movie, but I do think it's interesting when they kind of take what we perceive to be everyday, especially when it comes to the science side of things, and really just invert it, if you will, flip it on its head. And I think we also saw like Tenet for like the protagonist, because he didn't know that he was like, he did know, but he didn't know that he was the one that set all this in motion. He didn't know that he was the one that made Tenet. So it's like, what he had a tenet about himself, his beliefs about himself were challenged even then. His own beliefs about time and what was possible were challenged. His own beliefs about what was possible for him to do were challenged. So I think that again was interesting. It made for a very compelling story to watch. And yeah. So moving on to characters. I love the motivations in this movie. They were not complicated. They were simple and they worked because, again, with the plot, everything was there to support these characters and their motivations. So I think it all went together beautifully. Again, I kind of talked about Seder and his greed. Like, it made sense, you know, because we see how he treated like Kat. So it's like, if he's going to treat his own wife like that, use his own like child as a gambling ticket, kill a man just to get the plutonium, you know what I'm saying, almost kill Kat and tell her, if I can't have you, nobody can, for him to feel that way about the whole world, it made sense. It wasn't out of nowhere. And honestly, greed, that grandeur, that God complex, I don't think it's a very complex like reason for a villain, but that doesn't make it bad. It was simple, but because it was well crafted, because they took the time to add in those moments between him and Kat, and him and Sator's, like with Kat and Seder and his backstory, it made sense. And that's what I liked about it. Even with Kat, I mean, her motivation was a mother protecting her child, you know, that's like simple. That's not like nature. That's like on a biological level, you know, mothers can feel this need to protect their children, but it made sense for her story. And I think when you have such a complex storyline about like time and inverted and things are happening at the same moment, keeping the character motivation simpler, I think made the movie less overwhelming and more believable. Because this whole inverted timeline thing, I don't even know if it's possible. I'm not a science person. I'm certain that it is. But to believe it in the movie, I think having such simple and relatable character motivations, like wanting to protect your child and things like greed, made it much more believable. It helped to ground the rest of the movie. So that's something that I really, really liked. And even like with the protagonist, like, it's just simple things like him rather taking a cyanide pill rather than ratting out his team, him going back into save the people in like the general audience seat by moving the bomb so they wouldn't get killed. Like simple stuff like that, just simple choices that he made kind of shows that like he doesn't have to be the protagonist, but he has the skills. As he said, he's the type to look at a situation and plan to fix it, even if it's, he can think on his feet, that type of thing. So we get to see like his skills and just his character in general that make him the protagonist, that drive him. And you know what, just wanting to do the right thing because he doesn't want to see people get hurt, you know. Simple, but it works. The music, Ludwig Göransson, I almost butchered his name, but I googled ahead of time how to pronounce it. I love this man. Black Panther, Mandalorian, and now Tenet. He's new to the scene, but boy is he making a name for himself. The music to me helped with the pacing. Certain scenes would happen and his little like violin, piano, he has like that, I don't even know, like synthesizer thingy. If I can insert like 10 seconds of the part that I'm kind of talking about, I will, but we'll see, because like copyrights, baby, copyrights. But like, yeah, it just kept the pace. Like there was like certain scenes, especially with the car chase scenes and like the fight scenes, like you could tell that they're about to do something badass, or like it just especially in the car scenes, like watching certain shit go forwards and certain things go backwards and you're trying to figure out which is which, and just having the music in there, it was just like hitting home. Like especially how I talked about with the bass, like it was just like they would like throw a punch and the bass goes at the same time. It's a simple movie trick, but damn, it's effective. It really is effective, and I loved it. I loved how the movie kept the pace and signaled to you that shit was heating up. It was about to go down. And I think it also heightened the emotions. Not gonna lie, do I love the whole soundtrack? I listened to it right after the movie was done. Yes. Did it give me anxiety in some parts? Yes. Like, but again, that's effective. It's supposed to. The music is supposed to add to the scene. So I think for me, the music, I'm a soundtrack freak. I'm not gonna lie, I'm always listening. So I loved it. I think it just helps to like get you into it, to let you know that this was intense. Like, we're talking about time, we're watching a we're watching a moment, two different views, one going forward through the moment, one going backward. They're happening at the same time. That's intense shit, and the music needed to match. Special effects, I'm not a special effects expert. I really don't know too much about it, but like I can tell when something is janky when it's so obvious, and there weren't any moments in that. Like, I think it was very seamless. There was parts where I couldn't even tell if it was going forwards or backwards for a couple seconds. So I think overall the special effects were really well done. There was no moments where I was like, oh, that don't look right. Like, nothing pulled me out of the movie, and I think that's a good sign. Again, yeah, it just helped you immerse you in the world, especially with the fight scenes. Like, you would watch it going forward, you watch going backwards, and the way everything matched up. Like, I just feel like there was a lot of planning, and special effects were really considered when you were like when Nolan was planning out the whole movie. And I think it really shows because everything blends together so seamlessly. I love the car scenes, you know what I'm saying? Like, so overall special effects very, very well done. Like, yeah, they weren't like in your face. Like, to an extent, you know that they're using them because things are going forwards and backwards and that type of shit, but it wasn't like, it just blended very well. Camera work, can I say aesthetic, and aesthetic. If I can find any stills from the movie, I don't know if I'll be able to because it literally just came out, but like, beautiful. Can I say, like, just simple ones, or something like they're in Greece or some shit and Kat's like standing on this balcony. I don't know, I'm an aesthetic girl. I love it when movies give you something visually. That in itself is substance, and I enjoyed it. The camera work, like, obviously sometimes when you had like those crazy forwards backwards moments, but sometimes it was also just like a simple still shot. It was framed so nicely, the lighting was beautiful, and I liked it. Just like little moments like that in between all the action, I think they were breather periods, they were needed, and they were beautiful. Okay, and also again with the when moments were going forwards and backwards, those are more intense scenes, but I liked how they framed, especially in the later parts of the movie when you had like blue team going back through the moment, red team going forward through the moment. I love the way you can see blue team kind of do something, red team is watching it kind of be undone. Like, it's, I don't know, like, it's so hard to explain without showing it. I'll see if I can, but if not, the point is I just like how they framed it. In certain parts they really played the inverted world and the regular world off of each other, and I think again it blended very nicely and helped me to believe that like this shit was real. The action, again, I like some of the fist fights. They kind of give me John Wick vibes. There was one where I just feel like the hits like weren't, I don't know how to describe it. Like, there wasn't a good like connect. Like, you could tell that they wanted it to be like bah, bah, bah. But just like, I feel like it wasn't connecting as well. Like, I feel like the stuntmen were just kind of without actually like seeing the force behind the hit. So I can't even remember which one it was. I think it was the boat fight scene, maybe, when he was spying on with the gold, I think. But honestly, that's nitpicky stuff. All of the other ones, the fist fights, I loved the kitchen one, I loved the car scenes. Like, those are my favorite ones. Like, again, it drives the point of the movie home. We are messing with time right now, and again, I believed it. It was seamless. I don't know, something about those cars just going backwards, I fucking loved it. I don't know why, but I loved it. It was A1. Yeah, those are the categories I have. I didn't want to yeah, just like I didn't want to like again drone on, and I feel like the categories I mentioned were like the main ones for that movie. I think extra things that I liked, I loved the clothing. The suits that they were wearing were so nice. All of Kat's outfits were very like it added to the aesthetic. Like, I don't know, there was just something, like, I loved the suits, what Kat was wearing. And oh my gosh, when they had like those World War II looking gas mask type of thing in all black, I loved that. And it obviously made sense for the movie because they had to like carry their own air, but again, just bringing the vibe of the movie in, beautiful. I loved it. I loved some iconic lines, you know, that whole like anger is like just when happens when despair is scarred over, something like that. That like when he first met Priya, I'm not the man they called to negotiate. I was like, he's gonna die. I thought he was gonna kill him. He didn't, but still, that's iconic shit. I liked it. What was the other one? Oh, whatever happens, happens. I don't know, that was just like such a chill tank. And I feel like it's true because even though he did go back in time to try and like do certain things, to a certain extent there was things that he couldn't change, like with Neil. Whatever happens, happens. He couldn't undo that, obviously. And you know, I will say, Robert, he cleaned up for that role. I don't know how many of you know that Robert Pattinson's gonna play Batman, but after seeing him in this role, I'm more confident that he's about to pull off Bruce Wayne. We're gonna see, but I have hope. But that's not a movie. That's not the movie. Back on track. Last but not least, I liked the end, like when the protagonist was kind of getting emotional about Neil's death. To me, like, I don't know, you just like, you don't see that a lot. Like most of the time when you have like two main characters that are guys and one of them dies or is going to die, like they just kind of tough man it out. So I think it was more interesting to have him be a bit emotional about it, because like here's this man that you've just met, you just find out that you recruited him and you had all this adventures together and you're supposed to let him go out there and die. Like, I don't know, personally I would find that hard to do, you know. Like I get it from Neil's perspective, he's lived through it, all those years of friendship, like he's got the chance to experience them. But the protagonist that we're meeting then, he's halfway through it, as Neil said. So I get why it would be harder for him to let it go. So it was just a little touch, but I liked it because you know what, toxic masculinity, we don't want it out here. So it's the simple stuff that really, I think, just brought the movie over the edge. And sorry, I don't know if I talked about this already, but for plot part 2, I like the world building. With time travel, sometimes they make rules and break them, or they just make too many rules, or there's just not enough. I think they found the right balance of making enough rules for it to be believable, but also leaving room for chance. You know what I'm saying? Like with the grandfather paradox, they didn't have an answer for that, but it was still kind of a rule in a sense that, like, if the paradox was, I don't know how to describe this, like with the grandfather paradox, like I think adding that in was kind of like they're either going to be destroyed because of future generations, or the future generation, they're gonna die but they're gonna live. Like it was kind of either or, you know what I'm saying? Like how does that work? So it was kind of like almost a rule but not quite. So I think them kind of doing that is what made it so believable, because like they're making it very sciencey. So sciencey, I'm expecting some kind of rules or like formula or something, some kind of guideline. And I think they did do that, but they didn't overdo it. So they had a lot of room to get crazy, and it didn't lessen the stakes, because even though they could time travel, like when they were going back to save Kat, we have the protagonist asking all these questions. Is this gonna work? Is that gonna work? And they were like, bro, I don't know. We can try, but we don't know. And like that's the thing, like time is such a crazy thing. So I like that they left enough of it open. But yeah, that's the end of it. Tenet, I recommend seeing it if you can, if it's safe to go to the theaters or you feel comfortable going to the theaters. I think this is definitely a movie like worth your while. Christopher Nolan, again, is a director I've loved for a long time, so he delivered once again. I'm not disappointed. I recommend listening to the soundtrack after the movie because it is well worth it. Yeah, thank you for watching the first episode ever of Film Talks. I'm either gonna see you next Wednesday or Wednesday in 2 weeks. We gonna see. It's a mystery, okay? It's a mystery. But you know what? Whatever happens, happens. Hello guys, I hope you enjoyed the first ever film review video with me. I just wanted to let you know that this week I will not be posting a Fashion Friday video. I am not stopping them or anything. I just need more time to complete this video, so I will be posting it next Friday. I appreciate your support and your patience. You know, life gets crazy sometimes, so what you gonna do? Just roll with the punches. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I'm going to see you guys, I guess, a little later than usual, but still on Friday.